You're listening to Seattle Real Estate Podcast.
So today, here on the Seattle Real Estate Podcast, we are talking about hundreds join lawsuit challenging Washington's COVID-19 vaccine mandate for state and healthcare workers. Man, we have got lawsuits going back and forth. When these mandates started coming out, there had to have been a whole bunch of attorneys who were like, let's go ahead and pre-book Bezos's massive yacht for the family trip in the Mediterranean because we're going to make some money. All the attorneys necessary to handle all the court cases that are going to happen with these mandates. It's crazy. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to start out with a quick comment that one of the viewers had that I thought was super interesting along these lines. Before we jump on into that, if you're new, welcome. My name is Sean Reynolds. I own a couple of real estate companies. So why wouldn't I just read the news? All right, that's what we're doing. Here is that comment from a reader, and you're always anonymous here. If you send me something, I will not read your name. Probably even if you ask me to, unless you're like, you've got a particular request, because it's easier for you guys to all be anonymous. I'll take the heat and I'll take the beat down. But if you like what I'm doing, hit that subscribe button. Much appreciated. Here's that comment. I'm a government worker. Out of my department, only 180 people have turned in their vax papers out of 440 people. Not even half. Is that roughly? Yeah, it's a little over a third. My math isn't great, so those numbers could be off. I'm a real estate guy, So 2 vax deadlines have been missed. The last deadline is for J&J in early October. More than half of my department so far is holding out. This is the reason I wanted to read this. The biggest game of political chicken ever. I think that makes total sense. And I literally talked with my friend Dan, who owns a couple of bars. I've talked about a bunch. I was talking to him and I think I made that comment or he made that comment. I'm like, it's just a massive game of chicken because we've got all these lawsuits going back and forth and people don't want to get the vax for various reasons. A lot of them don't want to get the vax because they're told that you are being mandated to get the vax. Otherwise, I think there's a certain percentage of the population to be like, yeah, I'm not that against it, but I'm just kind of waiting to see more time go on. But now that it's being mandated, people are digging their heels in. And what's interesting to me is how many of them are in the healthcare fields or firefighters or police officers, first responders. Why is it that segment of people, they don't want to get the vax? Interesting, right? Especially the healthcare workers. Yeah. Work around people all day with the Rona and don't want to get it. Maybe there is something there, but that's a whole nother rabbit hole, right? All right. So we got the biggest game of political chicken ever. I am 100% okay with getting let go and moving out of state. I know a lot of people close to me that are in that exact same position. All right. I was just on the verge to about get the jab and then they mandated it as part of my employment. And I'm a no-go on that. A lot of folks are saying that. I'm a hard no-go on being dictated to have to do something to my own body to keep my employment. And so people are saying, yeah, my job is important and feeding my family, very important to me. But if this particular job dictates that I do that and I can make a lateral move to either another industry or another state or another city or whatever it is, I'm probably going to do that. Because, you've literally got this crazy matrix of, all right, I'm at a company that has 85 employees. Okay, so federally, I'm okay there, but I'm a state of Washington employee. Okay, there's that mandate. Okay, I'm in this industry. Okay, yeah, yep. I got to get. I don't have to get the. I got to get the jab. It's just it's incredible, right? And there are so many people who are like, oh, what are we doing here? So you got lawsuits left and right. Will the lawsuits Will they have outcomes before some of these deadlines come and go? One of my friends, I kind of made like a calendar with all the deadlines on it for her particular segment of employment. And there's so many moving parts now. You're like, all right, this lawsuit is probably it's going to be introduced here. They're going to release it, big news conference. All right, we're suing. And then how long till you get a hearing? How long till you get a ruling? Is this stuff going to happen fast enough before these deadlines come and go? And then what if these deadlines come and go and there's enough people to rock these labor pools where, whatever entity it is doing the mandate, they're like, yeah, you know what? We've revisited some of our mandates and we think that maybe we need to do a little bit of tweaking on that policy. You still need to get the jab, but here's what we're going to do for you. We're going to extend it out another 6 months. We're going to wait to see what the data says, and then we're going to reconvene. But so you can have your job in the meantime, but you still need to get the jab. I mean, you need to get the jab because you need to keep us all safe. All of us that have already had the jab. Interesting. But I digress. Let's read the article. What do you say? But a political game of chicken. That's about what it comes down to, isn't it? All right, you're going to fire me? That's fine. I'm not getting the job. Let's see how this goes. That's what I think a lot of folks have on their mind right now. And that's why we're doing this. Why are we talking about lawsuits and mandates and nonsense on the Seattle Real Estate Podcast? Well, one of the components of demand for housing, real estate, is employment. So if you've got things going wildly sideways in the employment industries, which you have right now, that's another great reason this is so important, is that you've got labor shortages in so many industries. Don't have enough policemen, say, or if a couple hundred state troopers no longer in employment, maybe a lot of them are very religious and they get their religious exemptions, but they don't get accommodation for said religious exemptions. Meaning, if you're a state trooper and you're doing your state trooper job, they can't really find you another job that does the same, is effectively the same thing. Whereas a lot of desk workers, a lot of computer workers, desk workers, I date myself because that's without a computer. It just means you're working at your desk doing stuff. What was the workforce like before computers? Weird, right? I do remember it. It's very fuzzy because I was very young. It's just so strange to think about that. But for people working at home, still being mandated to work at home because it's not safe to go to the office, but we're mandating that you get vaccinated so that it's safe for you to work at the office with all the other people that have already had the jab. Yeah. I find this baffling just to work through the logic. Well, you got to keep everybody safe. Well, but they're already safe, and we've been told that they're already safe, and the masks make us safe, and social distancing makes us safe, and working in offices with no other people around makes us safe. But don't worry, you can go to the Seahawks game and you don't have to wear a mask. Right? Mind-boggling. Hundreds join lawsuit challenging Washington's COVID-19 vaccine mandate for state healthcare workers. Hundreds of first responders, medical workers, and state employees are joining a lawsuit over Washington's COVID-19 vaccine mandate. We have some of the strictest mandates here in the state of Washington. And then the city of Seattle is just going to dump a bunch more on there, and we're just going to have mandates. We're going to have a mandate. All right. If you want to get gas on Tuesday or Thursday, you're going to have to show your vaccination card. I mean, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, and we're considering an optional mandate on Sunday as well. We'll get back to you. I mean, we'll let you know, but get the vax. You need to get the vax. I mean, clearly, to keep everybody safe, you need to get the vax. William Cleary and his wife, Sherra Rae, said that they are unvaccinated. Uh-oh. What are they thinking? They are unvaccinated and don't plan to get the shots / jabby jabs. He's a firefighter in the Seattle area. She works at a major hospital, and both could lose their jobs after October 18th. I find it so interesting how many people in the hospital industry. No. Pass. Hard pass. They could both lose their jobs after October 18th, which is the state's vaccine deadline for state healthcare and education workers. And I'm still trying to work through all of this. I am not in a position where I have to get the vaccination if I was vaxxed or I wasn't vaxxed. I mean, I'm not really stating what I am, but I think you can read between those lines because it's pretty easy to figure out. But you got to have, in order to be considered vaccinated, even with the Johnson & Johnson, you have to have that 2-week period after. So there's such a calendar matrix of, okay, at this point in time here, you could be fired. So we've got October 18th, which is the state's vaccine deadline. The federal one kicks in October 26th, I believe. I should really memorize these dates, but I think this is all subject to change, and so I'm not committing these to memory. I'm going to commit other things to memory, like there's 85 fires in the homeless encampments. That's the kind of stuff that's, critical in my mind. That's what I wake up thinking about. Oh, I wonder how many fires there were last night. Probably a lot. I should probably check my phone and find out. So where I work, we are possibly looking at losing up to 100 or 150 people, said William, who declined to name his and Sherra Rae's employers. He said his wife sought a medical exemption because she's pregnant and there are complications, but the exemption was denied, according to court documents. William said he just filed a religious exemption. Don't even get me started on that one. I mean, let's be honest. I haven't seen any churches come out specifically based on religious doctrine that the vaccinations are, against their specific religion. I've seen people make the argument of, well, you're not trusting God and God's will, so therefore, a lot of those kind of arguments. But that stuff I don't think will hold up with the state. They want to know that you have a true religious conviction that prevents you from getting the jab. Most people don't have that. Even if they're I want to say weekend warrior, but how about a churchgoer during the holidays so that, your parents think that you're still practicing said faith when they come to town? So can people get religious exemptions? Absolutely. And I've seen the examples and then some people get the accommodation. Some people don't get the accommodation. Hey, we believe that based on your religious conviction that you should have an exemption. However, that whole work part, tricky. Yeah. Whole thing to me is absolutely mind-blowing. For me, it's a matter of conscience. And so that's basically what I focused on with mine, his talking about his religious exemption, was my conscience. And if you listen to your conscience, it's essentially listening to the word of God, he said. All right. I mean, this guy's giving it a go, but I don't think any governmental entity is going to, those words it's not going to fly, right? So you've got your conscience. I think what their argument would be is, we believe that you are a person with high intellect and your conscience is important to you. And so that we trust that you're going to make the right decision here and get the jabby jab. All right. So the couple and roughly 600 others, including the state fire marshal, interesting, they're joining a lawsuit challenging Governor Jay Inslee's vaccine mandate, arguing he overstepped his authority. Absolutely. I absolutely believe that 100%. Just overstepped the authority. I think Biden's federal mandate oversteps authority, period. It just does. We're going to find out. We're going to find out what the courts come up with. All right, based on past case law, here's where we're at. Half those things don't make any sense to me. It's like, it's just your opinion. Weird. So those are decisions that need to be made by the legislature in accordance with our state's constitution, which is the supreme law of our land, said Nathan Arnold, an attorney representing the plaintiffs. Yeah. And you start to go down those roads and you kind of think to yourself, oh, that makes sense. This whole arbitrarily, all right, to keep everybody safe, y'all got to get vaxxed. It's counterintuitive and it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. And yet here we are, right? It's fall 2021. Why wouldn't we have mandates for damn near everything? Gasoline on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Get in line. Kind of like being a kid in the back of my dad's car, going to the gas station in the early 70s when we had that oil embargo. Man, those lines were long, boring. Are you going to get gas? Because sometimes you get turned away. They run out, right? So people filing this case, they want a judge to overturn the mandate, but they have less than 4 weeks left to argue their case. Inslee's office responded to the lawsuit Wednesday. I'll read this just for giggles, right? We hope that public servants and those who have made their careers around protecting the health and safety of the public will choose to do the right thing and get vaccinated. How about choose the right thing and think for themselves? How about that? Because it is their body, right? What happened to my body, my choice? That went out the window. I missed the memo on that. But apparently that is not what we're supposed to be. We're not going down those roads anymore. Unless you're in the state of Texas and you're talking about the abortion deal. The whole thing, what you can and can't do anymore or think or say is it's this massive matrix of, oh, don't say that. You'll get deplatformed. Not good. As for the lawsuit, we are confident that the governor's proclamations are legally sound. Yeah, President Biden was moderately confident that the CDC eviction moratorium was sound. I mean, moderately. He basically came out and said that it had like a 50-50 chance and, in the end, went the wrong way on him. So I'm kind of hoping, well, maybe a judge out there sees the governor's proclamations. Maybe they're not legally sound. Maybe there's some prior case law. I'm not even going to get into that because there's so many people are citing the case from 1905. Really? Apparently they are. The Department of Health said it appears more people are getting vaccinated in part because of the state's mandate. Maybe that'll be good enough. Here in King County, we've got like 80% of our population vaccinated. What more do you need? If you're going to have a certain percentage, they're going to be like, yeah, we're not getting vaccinated. We're not doing that. Just don't want to. Just on principle. We're not going there. You're going to have that certain percentage of population. So you're going to try and beat everybody over the head until what percentage gets vaccinated, and you eliminate what percentage from the workforce. You eliminate what percentage from, consumer society. Oh, you can't go into a store not vaccinated. You can't go into a bank. I mean, are we going to go that far? We haven't so far here yet. But that's a coming. So rates were down, vaccination rates in July, and we have seen a 20 to 30% increase since then. Yeah, in August, though, the numbers also spiked pretty hard on the Delta variant, right? And those numbers, watching that bar curve, coming on the other side, coming down the mountain. So obviously, there's probably multiple factors, but the vaccine requirements are probably part of that. That's some really solid. You got two probablys in one sentence. I mean, if I did that in the appraisal, this house is probably worth $1 million. I mean, it might be worth 800. It might be worth 1.2, but it's probably within that range. Now, I know that range is probably 400,000, but like I said earlier, probably value fits in there. How long do you think I'd last in the appraisal industry? Yeah, not long. All right. So the probably comment was made by Michelle Roberts, Washington's acting assistant secretary of prevention and community health. And that was during a briefing last week. So we've got these lawsuits. We've got how many, I'm waiting for the big one from all the governors on the federal mandates. I'm waiting for that one. There's 23 governors, 24 governors at last count. I can't even keep track of that. Going to sue the federal government, or basically sue Biden for his mandates. That'll be an interesting one. But we're kind of waiting on a lot of this stuff. We are waiting for the actual mandates, the written word of what those mandates look like so that we can do these lawsuits. Right? I mean, we're waiting for that, and boom, as soon as those are done, get that lawsuit together, file that lawsuit, wait for your court hearing. And all this stuff is going to be put on the expedited track because we've got these mandates coming up and people need to know. Got this game of political chicken, and people are playing chicken with their jobs. First responders. There's a lot of police that I keep getting wind of. And they're like, yeah, we're just going to have to kind of see how this goes. Don't want to get the jabby jab. And so might lose my jobby job. I find the whole thing it's mind blowing that in the midst of a massive labor shortage and so many of these industries don't have enough workers that these mandates are coming down. I gotta think there's going to be a little bit of easing there when these dates come. There's got to be some give, because if all these people, and it might be something like, yep, we're not giving you your medical, we're not giving you your religious, we're not giving you your accommodation, but given the fact that we have reached XYZ percentage of whatever vaccination rate, we believe, based on the data and the science, that we can back off just a little bit. You still need to get vaccinated, but we're going to back off just a little bit. And they won't use the terms back off. They're going to use, we're going to give you the freedom of doing this. There you go, good people. There you go, good sheeple. Enjoy that freedom. Yeah, it's mind blowing that here we are. You've got to get that jab to keep us all safe. Okay. All right. Interesting. We've been doing this. I mean, the firefighters, they've been fighting fires for the last 2 years without the vaccination, doing a great job. Are there tons of cases of firefighters working outside, spreading the coronavirus? Is there data and science behind that? Or are we just mandating it because we're mandating the vaccines? It's hard to say, isn't it? Yeah. It's crazy. But we got this lawsuit. I'm going to be doing a bunch of podcasts on all the lawsuits. It's going to be hard to keep all those, storylines in the air. For those even the audio portion, I was fake juggling. I actually can juggle 3 balls. I can't do 4. But I took a juggling class online when I was a kid, when computers didn't exist. How did that work? I can't remember. Maybe I did it. No, I got a book. I learned to juggle from a book. It was pretty good. You do some exercises and you keep, trying over and over and over. And you practice with those little square like beanbag things, because those are easy to catch and hold on to. Much easier than a round hard ball. So juggling all these storylines, it's going to be interesting because I think there's going to be so many lawsuits, so many mandates, so many lawsuits. That's what I'm going to leave you with. So don't give up hope if you're in a position where you are thinking, I'm going to lose my damn job. I don't know. That's not the road I'm going down right now, because there's a lot to unfold before we get there. I know employers, and I know if you're a state employee, it looks pretty grim, but hang tight. I think this is one of those cases where you hang tight. You're being told one thing. There could be some real surprises here, because if these mandates do go through and we lose even more of the workforce, there's going to be some real repercussions. And I think that's what we're playing chicken with. It's not like there's a massive labor, and an oversupply of labor. We're the opposite. We've got way more jobs out there than we do bodies. And so to lose a certain percentage of this job pool, maybe those people are like, screw it. Maybe they're like police officers and they're like, screw it. Didn't really like this job anyway. Moving on. We could see that. Like this reader, viewer said here, 180 people out of 440 people in his department have turned in their vax papers. That's not what I'm hearing here in the state of Washington, but I don't know where this anonymous person is from, and that's okay. This is an example of what's going on out there. But here in the state of Washington, what I'm hearing is the vast majority of people have already just kind of rolled over and gotten vaccinated. And so the percentages of those who are not vaccinated, they're fighting these battles, much, much smaller. But I know there's areas of the country where employers are going to have to do the federal mandate, where if they have over 100 employees, got to get the jabby jab if you want to work at those companies. That's not going to go over well. Some states, right? You know what I'm talking about? Oh, podcasts for days. Attorneys litigating for hours per hour. Crazy. All right. That's where we're at. Thanks so much for being here. Pretty much done with this one because this is going to be a to be continued podcast because we've got these lawsuits coming up and lots to talk about. It's wild for me to even see this. Like, what are we doing? Sean, in your early 50s, this is what you're going to face. Really? Huh. Interesting. Can I do anything to change that right now? No, you're just going to have to deal with it. That's what we're doing. All right. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being part of the Seattle Real Estate Podcast. Love to have you subscribe if you want to do that. If not, stay safe. Make good choices. We'll talk soon. Bye. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell so you'll know when our next video is out.